at ya. Tell you when it's master, coming at ya, coming at ya. Rhyme style disaster, coming at ya,
Hey everyone, I'm Nigel Ashford and welcome to Outspoken. This is season 2, episode 10. So I'm really excited about this episode, especially it's Greek oriented. Being Greek myself and being LGBTQ, I know a lot of us face issues, struggles, good, negatives, but also the positives of people within our organizations who stand behind us, not thinking about what sexual orientation we are, but who really surrounds us and loves us. So I wanted to do a type of forum today where I bring on an Alpha, Kappa, Omega, Sigma, and Iota to really talk about their experiences with being in that organization, really diving in and just something where we can just vocalize how a lot of us in the Divine Nine have been feeling or have experienced. And it's not bad. A lot of it is good too. So I want to just talk about the good, the bad, and also what we can do to make everything better for every national Divine Nine organization. So welcome my panelist guests. Here they are. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Okay.
We here. We outside.
Now I can hear you right.
I mean, we're not outside, but we outside.
Now meet me outside.
Look.
So
How about that?
Again, we're bringing representatives of people who are a part of the Divine Nine organization. I just want to say thank you guys for being here. So we're going to go from, I guess, starting with you, Greg. Greg, just tell us what organization you're a part of, when did you cross, and also what made you join your organization.
Grand Rising. I am Dr. Greg Shirley, he, him, his. I am a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I crossed into or was initiated, depending on the verbiage you like to use, because we're going to be inclusive, in fall 2002 at Paul Quinn College, which is the oldest historically Black college west of the Mississippi River. And what really inspired me to be an Alpha, I was told, my twin brother and I, for those of you who don't know, I have a twin brother. He's a member of Phi Beta Sigma. We were told in high school that we were going to be Kappas because, and I quote, y'all light skinned with nice hair. Not knowing what Kappa Alpha Psi was about, I was like, okay, well, I guess since I'm light skinned and got wavy hair, I guess I'll be a Kappa. This is me talking 16, 17 years old. My uncle is a member of Omega Psi Phi. And he said, well, if you go Q, I'll pay for half. I got to college. The Qs weren't there. I saw the Kappas, I saw the Alphas, I saw the Sigmas. We didn't have Iotas at the time. However, I just gravitated more so to the men who were in that particular chapter. They were relatable, they were approachable. They included me as a freshman, an hour and a half away from home, into great experiences, excellent leadership experiences. I definitely credit those gentlemen with showing me the way of professional development and career development even before I knew what any of that meant. And I advocate that with my students now, as I am now 13 years in the game in higher education. And so, much love for everybody, because I would rather have people be a wholehearted whatever than a half-hearted Alpha. And so I definitely am excited to be, a hit dog, that's going to move somebody. That's going to move somebody. I feel the movement in the atmosphere right now.
Lord,
But enough about me. That is what motivated me to be a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. It's not a decision that I have regretted at all.
Thank you, Greg. Brandon, what about you, man?
Happy Thursday, everyone. My name is Brandon Stroud. I currently serve as a residence coordinator here at the Rochester Institute of Technology.
Thank you, Greg. Brandon, what about you, man?
Can y'all hear me?
Happy Thursday, everyone.
Okay, cool.
My name is Brandon Stroud.
I don't know why there's a reverb going on right now, but yeah. So I'm currently working at the Rochester Institute of Technology. I also am the owner of Be Yourself Wellness, and so yeah, I'm a yogi instructor. I'm out here saving the world, but I am a member of Omega Psi Phi. I actually crossed in fall 2011. And we were the charter line. So shout out to any other charter line members out here. Y'all know the struggle bus. But yeah, I think I fell in love with Omega because I am a legacy. And, you know, at some points in times it was important about the legacy, and other points in times I think I saw strength in people like Bayard Rustin, who was out here changing the world. And, you know, he became like a superhero to me. So following in footsteps of other fellow activists, who make sure that all Black lives matter and that we're very vocal about that, I think definitely led my charge of joining Omega. So yes, thank you, and thank y'all for having me.
Awesome. Gerald, welcome, man. What about you?
Afternoon. Salutations and greetings. Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, the only one. Blue, Faye. I know you all don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Good.
I don't. And I live with a Sigma. I've dated many a Sigma too, and I still don't know.
All I know is, you know, every Sigma that I knew, he just kept trying to steal my cane. But I mean, I'm just saying, you know.
Baby, my nerves. Let me get some of Mama's medicine down here.
Yeah, I'll let Gerald finish. Go ahead, Blue.
I played spring '97 at Alcorn State University, 10 boss. My experience, when I went to college, I really didn't even know much about Greek life. I was like the first in my community to come back. When I played, everybody like, what are you? Will you step us and things like that? So when I look at it now, it was so divine for me to go back and give my small community something different. And it inspired individuals to start going to college. So my whole journey through my life, becoming who I was, because again, you know, when I played, I couldn't live my authentic self. I didn't even know what that was. But now through my activism with HIV prevention and care, that's all I do is try to uplift and make sure that we understand each other and live in our authentic self. And in my fraternity, the best ever. The experiences, we'll talk about that during this time frame.
Gerald, you better sound like a whole PSA.
I'm so.
Sir Arthur, welcome.
I just want to know what it is and what go by mean. That's all I want to know.
Oh, wow.
Go mob means get on me and bounce.
Oh.
I mean, I've done that with many a Sigma, but you know, it's fine.
Wow. Well, all right.
But we're not here about me.
Sir Arthur, go ahead. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So, I am a life member of Iota Phi Theta. I pledged at the Alabama State University 2003, and I actually chartered my chapter at Jacksonville State University in 2003 as well. For me, I knew I was going to be Greek my when I say entire family was Greek, mom, aka dad, Sigma. So I grew up with the family reunion, whereas everyone had on their Greek paraphernalia versus the family reunion t-shirt. So I always heard, you're going to be a Kappa, you're going to be da. And I kind of, I knew a lot about divine art history. But for me, when I finally read the book my freshman year, I was like, well, you know what? I'll just wait. It's not a big deal. I became the first Black Mr. JSU at Jacksonville State. So they kind of made me a little bit more buildable per se to certain organizations. But for me, when I went back and reread the Divine Nine, I knew about all five fraternities, but Iota Phi Theta stood out to me because the history was so rich during the civil rights movement. More so the fact that other 12 founders that we do have at that time, 10 of them were still alive and prevalent. So who could better tell me more about the organization themselves than the founders who were actually founding the organization in 1963? So I made that decision in 2003. I have not regretted it since. I've been on several grand councils. I'm a life member. I work due diligently day in, day out for my organizations, for the NPC as a whole, as it is a passion for me. I just in love, divine non-Greek life. It's just a part of who we are. The connections are priceless. The memories are definitely priceless. And it's just something I definitely enjoy doing.
Awesome, awesome. And my friend, I think you just told me that one of your founders, they recently passed. Is that correct?
And that is correct, last month.
Gotcha. I'm sorry for your loss, man.
Thank you.
And Justin, last but not least.
Oh, you said the best for last. I already knew that. You didn't tell me. The people know why they're here. You know why. But anyways, hey everybody, I'm Justin Rain. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I pledged at the University of. Sorry, I don't even know. I pledged, y'all. I'm not even gonna play that game. Yeah, because I'm grown. I made choices at the University of Arkansas. And for me, very similar to Greg, Kappa was in my heart prior to attending school, but actually, my freshman year, I had all the organizations kind of trying to recruit me, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna make an informed decision. I went, and everybody had their thing, but I made a choice about who I actually vibe with about the chapter, and really connected with the most in my campus. And that's what I advise anybody. You may have an idea in your mind, but the people there and how they carry themselves, that's going to be your experience. Those are going to be the people that you work with. Not to say that the whole organization as a whole you won't be able to be touched by, but that's your first kind of entry into it. And I believe that really is what sets your foundation for what your Greek experience will be. So I think that is for me was more important than which organization being dedicated to Kappa at least.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys, let's jump right in. Let's talk about apprehensions. A lot of people, when wanting to join and partake in the intake process, they have those apprehensions of finances, of grades, of all these type of things. But for a select some of those apprehensions is, will they find out, am I LGBTQ? Did your sexual orientation ever play in one of your apprehensions? Greg, I'm gonna let you go first.
I mean, you could always let Gerald go for age before, everybody. I respect my elders.
What is with all the shade? The shade.
I know. I respect the ancestors.
It is deep.
That is not shade. That is not shade. That is not shade. I only pray
Gerald out here
that I still look as good as Gerald do when I get to the age that he is. Because he said 97. I was like, oh.
And I was shook. Because I was like, Gerald said he got something for y'all.
All right, Gerald.
But Gerald.
I will go. So grades were never an apprehension for mine, because first semester of undergrad, I had a 3.6, and I never had anything below a 3.6 the entire time that I was in undergrad. But I do remember that there was apprehension for them to vote to extend me an offer for membership, because at the time there were rumors about my sexual orientation, because, I didn't have a girlfriend. I always hung out with women on campus, because the campus I went to at the time, it was segregated by gender. So the girls were on one side, because I went to a private Christian college. So the girls were on one side, guys were on the other. There was no visitation in the rooms in the residence hall. We had a curfew. And so, them seeing that, I guess I didn't present as the quote unquote typical masculine man that was aspiring to join a fraternity. And I think for so many of us, and, I'm sure some of my brothers on here can echo that statement as well, we have a persona that is right, wrong, or indifferent that awards hypermasculinity. And it penalizes those that do not have that same level of masculinity. However, masculinity being, in my opinion, a social construct, you can't tell me what masculinity is. And so while it was an apprehension, everything else that I did, my GPA, my involvement, the rapport that I had with people, I think that caused them to turn somewhat of a blind eye. However, even after I became a member, I joined the chapter, there were those that came before me and came after me that felt like me being in a leadership role based upon my sexual orientation was perhaps not the best image for the chapter. And so initially that was something that I internalized. However, as I became more involved in my chapter, as I became more involved in the city of Dallas and the region, you know, it was one of those things where people knew my face, they knew my name, and everybody who was heterosexual and cisgender in my chapter couldn't say that because all they did was stay on the yard, or all they did was stay within the same confines of the people that they knew. But I was the social butterfly. I went to the conferences. I went to the conventions. I went to the professional development opportunities. I was SGA president. I was NAACP president. I was co-editor of the yearbook. So I'm like, if you're going to shun me from my chapter for something that's really none of your business, I'm going to get my shine elsewhere. And that shine is going to continue to put a shine on the chapter.
Oh, wow. Gerald, like Greg said, in 1997. How was that for you?
I think what Dr. Greg was speaking on, he's talking about toxic masculinity. And that's something that we have to deal with now. The things that we were taught in our past, how we should act, how masculine and emasculine person should act. And that's something that I had to struggle with being in the 70s, baby, what I should and what I shouldn't do. And actually, believe it or not, Dr. Greg, we got some of the same background in the sense of it was rumors about me as well. I was a track star at Alcorn State University. I'm sorry, I was about to say Jackson State. I have my master's from there. But I was a track star there. So I ended up, before I actually was in the pledging process, I confided in a female that I thought I could trust. Big mistake. Would never do that again. So it took my homeboy with the clout he had in the fraternity, like, look, y'all can give my homeboy a chance. He's going to get through. So it was a back and forth for me to get in. And once I got in, they already know it was the best thing that could have ever happened to Phi Beta Sigma.
Oh, wow. And the back and
Talk
forth.
your shit!
And the back and forth was basically the fact that you were LGBTQ, not
well, it was the fact that it was a rumor. Because I
only through a rumor.
Well, yeah, only through a rumor. In the
rumors are worse than the truth. To me, I found rumors are worse than the truth.
Right, right. So
especially in like the whole, especially on campus, rumors are like regardless of like sexual orientation. Any rumor about
campus,
you
like Alcorn
in a
State
small
University, it's like a small community where everybody knows everybody's business. So in the sense of when that rumor came out, my stories might be too deep for y'all. Next person.
That's what we here for.
No.
Right. I want the tea. You'll give us half a lifetime story.
Baby, I'm just with the mess of my news is real.
Give me the appendix at least, give me like the back of the book. Let me just like give me that kind of summary.
You already done told us you got a track booty. You might well go ahead and tell us the story.
Right, because I definitely thought about the ass once you said you ran track. I was like, I wonder what that body doing.
How you doing?
Wow.
Now, Justin, you said your problem was figuring out which one to choose because a lot of them wanted you. So did you really have any apprehensions, even like if or expect like due to being LGBT? Were there really any apprehensions for you?
I guess my situation was a little different. I was dating someone that was in a Greek letter organization in high school, and that is why I was in a relationship when I went to college. So my situation, I'm trying to say this without like people. My profile was my ex, and at the time, he had not pledged, but he would pledge my freshman year, my ex. So I wasn't really concerned about that or the connection to Kappa if Kappa was my choice. My issue now became just the connection to him. And again, rumors were my biggest issue and my biggest issue and my concern. I actually came to learn that I was way more concerned about the gay shit than they were, past like just the superficial stuff. Like once I had gotten past the point where they had voted or chose me or whatever for intake, I was actually in my own way. Like they were trying to get to know me through the intake process and everything, really get to know me better as a brother. And I was just like a whole wall. I was like, I'm here to do my job. I got an answer. You want the answer? Yes or no? Bye. Like, that was just me. What do you like? I don't like nothing.
Oh,
Like, that was just my answer. Like, because I didn't want to put myself in a position to be judged. And I didn't like that. I remember still to this day, like, they asked me what my favorite movie was. And we sat there for 2 hours straight. I said, you don't care about my favorite movie. I said, you're not going to like it. I said, you're going to think it's weird. Like, that's finally what it came down to after 2 hours of us sitting here having this back and forth. And then I finally told them, I was like, well, my favorite movie right now is Bridesmaids. And they were like, that movie funny as fuck, but why would you tell us? And I was like, I just didn't think you would get it. We're gonna leave it there. Yeah. Like,
I mean, can we just talk about the fact that sometimes the breeders just don't get it? The breeders do not get it. And baby, it's like white people and black struggles. I ain't got the time to educate you nor train you.
Yeah.
Learn it.
But to that point, I will say, I think we sometimes can be our own worst enemy, because I had written off people before they had written off me. Now, that doesn't mean that my experiences, like going into the intake process, had not given me that feeling or made me feel like why I needed to like keep myself guarded, because that was why. But once I was there, I would just say, and what I've encouraged any like people interested in Greek organizations, I mentor a lot of guys, because I was kind of in that space where the whole millennial like transition between everybody's out. Everybody's trying to figure it all out, because I crossed on like 2012. So that's why you were starting to see more out Greek guys. So I was kind of in that bridge in transition. So, and I also was kind of blowing up on social media. So I would constantly have people in my DM, like kids asking like, hey, I want to be like you. Hey, I want to do this. Yo, like, you're able to have both. And even like on the national level. But for me, like, there was a lot of struggles. Dude called me a bitch one time, like after a step show. Cause that was for me, like, similar to Greg and similar to Gerald, like, I just decided, okay, hey, they kept me in my box. They didn't want me to be chapter president, but you would have me be stepmaster. Like, I could do all the creative things that, okay, even if you were a little gay or they thought you were gay, no, I could be front and center. I could be stepmaster. I could do all the things aesthetically. I could throw your parties. I could do certain things in certain boxes, but I could not like fully be like the leader. Like, they wouldn't let me in certain spaces. But then it became a thing where it's like, when you think of Kappa, you think of Justin. And then on national level, like, Justin became like the face of this. So it kind of like moved my own chapter's needle.
Gotcha, bitches.
And now y'all got me on all your flyers. I'm the most popular member ever came from your chapter. Wrapped you up.
Hey, you have every right to be cold and bothered about it. You have every right to be cold and bothered about it.
And you emailing me every semester for a donation.
Exactly. Girl, bye girl, fly girl. Go home, Roger.
Sir Arthur,
I love your energy.
Were there any apprehensions due to you being LGBTQ?
So my story is a bit different. I actually was engaged to a female when I was online. I started dating guys until I was 24 years old. So at that time, I was engaged with a fiance. Had no idea I would end up liking guys. And the crazy thing is that, well, he's just so pretty, he must be gay. His LBs are real thin, and they're not the most masculine. And plus, mind you, we were charting a chapter at a new school, so image was everything to them. This is 2003, so where we are today, at that time of age, gay was just not the hot thing. It wasn't the trendy thing that it is now. Especially if you were a Greek, I mean, you had to represent everything you did was the organization's brand, so you had to be very mindful of what you did and didn't do. Upon crossing over is when things kind of took a different turn and kind of got very different. Like Dr. Greg said, I was already over NAACP, NPA. I was over everything. I immediately became NPAC president like 2 weeks after you crossed over and probated on the yard. Because I was just that bitch. I was like the one you want to fuck with. So if my name came up, you knew to get the fuck out the way. He's coming through. It's gonna be what it is. That's what it's gonna be. So it's quite quickly. Iota skyrocketed very rampantly on our campus and around the state. But you still had those where it's like, well, keep him in a box. Don't let him get too big. He's getting big in the organization. That was never my thing or my dream. But in the same aspect, when I did kind of see how some of the LGBTQ members were treated in the organization, and I found myself having those thoughts of wanting to kind of experiment, seeing what happened to some of my frat brothers at that time as far as being ejected from events or being snatched and pulled, I was like, oh, I'm never going to tell them this shit. This won't ever come out of my mouth. But after confiding in my line brothers and kind of, coming to a realization of who I was, and even my dean, so he always said, I was just waiting to meet you. And I'm like, well, hell, at that time, I am 19 years old. I didn't know what was going on, but now I had gotten older, had some experiences, had some depths, and things just kind of transitioned and changed. I was like, you know what, fuck it, it is what it is. I don't think that who I am has to be a flag of my organization. I've always been very careful to decipher, keeping who Sir Arthur is separate from Iota Phi Theta, from my professional life. When I'm in the optical world, I don't let those collide. But as you're going to get older, you kind of stop caring as you get older. I always respect my organization up and foremost. You're not going to see me going out, doing certain things my letters on. But at the end of the day, because of who I am, and you know me as that's the Iota Sorority, he's known for making centaur piece close to globe, coast to coast. I can't make people not know him, but I can always say people decipher that, okay, who Iota Phi Theta is not who I am, is not the organization stands for, so I say it that way. But I mean, I didn't have any apprehensions. It's just that as I've been in the organization and taking new leadership positions on the regional and national level, I've always wanted to be the person that kind of, when I see people that may be of that particular lifestyle, I'll try to reach out to them ahead of the game, hey, let's do this, do that. Don't turn down be who you are, but at the same point, realize that where we are today is such a big, even I'll admit it's such a big difference in seeing the freedoms that we have now, the things that we do in the organization. Of course, we all know that in the end of the day, the gays run the organizations from top to bottom, but I don't ever give that credit where it's due. But however, we know who gets the job done across the board from top to the very basic of the bottom of it, but we won't get credit where credit is due. So my thing is, work what you need to do, get what you need to get done. And when you're finished doing what you need to do, they can't do nothing but respect you. So when I'm on that grand council on that dais, I want a bitch to come for me. Because my accolades will go on and on and on and on. So what are we here to talk about? What I do in my home is not your business. What I'm doing in the privacy of my own friend bracket, that's not your business.
In the streets, if you see me out at the grocery store, it's still not your business.
It's not your damn business. Right. Exactly.
I'm the business that pays you, because this job is another one don't pay. Baby, call me Janelle Monáe, because I'm a hidden figure, bitch.
Exactly. Come on.
Okay, Jared, why'd you come here with all these lines you wrote down?
Hey,
why'd you come here with all these lines you wrote down?
Let's stay on you then, Brandon. What were your apprehensions?
Yes, Brandon.
I'm done with you just now. I didn't have any. Like, I remember walking onto college campus. My god sister was the AKA. So, like, freshman week when I first got there, I remember she was like, "Oh, we going to the parties, we doing all these things." So I was really turned. And I remember my freshman year literally telling anybody, like, excuse the language, because people know I'm better now. But I was like, I'll take your bitch or your nigga, depending on how freaky they is, right? And so that was the reality. Stay hydrated, baby, in all facets, right?
I'm here to take your things, my things, the nigga down the street.
I love it.
What y'all want to do, because we can talk about it, right? Like, we can engage in those conversations. And I think I was so young having that, right? Like, I remember dating the first trans woman I ever dated was like my freshman year of college, and that was 2009, right? So there was a lot of things around identity and coming into self that other people was just struggling trying to make money, right, on campus, or like pay their bills. I had 5 on-campus jobs. Like everybody else saying, when I hit the campus, it was like, who is this person? And now looking back at it, like, I had to tell some of my friends, I was like, yo, I really didn't have a lot of friends in undergrad. Like, everybody kicked it with me, but nobody kicked it with me, right? Mm-hmm. And so when it came time to do Omega, it was just like, let's do it. Like, I have the money, I have the grades, I have the service work, I have the activism work, like just doing so many things. And so I think my thing was like physical body harm of like, if I get into this space, what will happen? Because I'm slimmer, right? And so when you think of most men of Omega Psi Phi, you think about these big, like burly,
black fat. They the muscular, they fat.
I was like, you think about a buck back in slavery. That's really what it is, right? Like these big swole people that we think are like the leaders of our community to come and protect us, but they don't even have the depth of the range to actually engage in conversations to protect themselves. And so
that can't help
the range. Brandon, going off of that actually goes to my next question.
Range.
And I'm going to ask all of you guys this: did you have to, i.e., code switch? Did you have to turn up the knob to, the knob it goes high in 10, but with Omega, with them being this depicted as this hyper masculine fraternity, did you have to code switch in changing mannerisms, deepening your voice, and like Justin said, really thinking about what you were saying and how you were saying and the responses that you were given?
To me, being in the organization, oh, sorry, Brandon.
No, you go ahead, baby.
I was
No,
right.
go ahead. No, I want Brandon. You go first, and then
No, you go first. He talked
Oh,
to you.
I think for me, it's just like anything like the girls, right? Like niggas is the girls, girls is niggas. Like we use all these cultural pronouns of the he, she, them, days, everything to really like talk about queer identity on a platform, you know. So now, Nigel, when you asked that first question, I was like, yes, because you know that is a political thing now of like outside of your name, like what is your pronoun? And I teach people just say people's names, right? And so that's how I was back in college. Like, just say my name. Don't call me a faggot. You know what I'm saying? Like, because
Right.
I've never been able to deepen my voice. Like, it's been whatever it's going to be, and it's been powerful. You know, and I think a lot of times people, when they see what your power can be because of how people engage with you, because of how people maneuver around you or with you or through you and things, you know, it was real. Like the frat house, like parties, like they would look at me and be like, "Oh, you gotta pay," and I'm walking right past you. I've already paid my dues, baby. Like we're here. But it was apprehension, right? Like everybody else is saying, especially with the leadership positions. I did run for president and didn't get it right. And so I was like, oh, they're gonna try to keep me out. So then I became the president of our NPHC and was like, nothing's gonna stop me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you really start breathing into yourself and when you really start seeing that, like that power and that strength, and I've always had it, but it was like, dang, I really was looking for an Omega to help boost it, right?
Right.
And really needed that. There's a lot of young men and women out here who really need our organizations because they don't have that in the hood. They don't have that at home. They don't have other things, right? They don't have the fathers. And so it's interesting to also be a gay mother, right? Like, and bring people's kids whose fathers weren't there, like under my wing and be like, well, now we're here. Like I'm raising children in a different type of way than being a regular parent. And they see me every day, right? Like I think I just went back to my first Omega event like 2 years ago, like since graduated undergrad, because I was just like, I don't have time. Like there's other things to do. Like we have a community save like our founders. Like I may not look like our founders, but my founders look like me. You know, like I may not look like everybody else, but like
Amen.
nerds. They was doctors. Like can't nobody in my chapter right now say that they've been working on a doctorate besides me. So let's do the things. Let's do the work. But most people weren't built to do the work, which isn't their fault because we recognize how racism, sexism, homophobia, and all the things have played inside of our community to like not let them understand. But now everybody's grown. So I hope my frat brothers and my line brothers hear this so that we can connect and rebuild on our own relationship. So
Girl, fuck them. Girl, anyway.
no, definitely fuck them.
Right.
Maybe I'm wearing a watch, but I don't have the time.
You know what?
Right.
I'm talking about me because you know what, Greg? Since I started doing yoga and all that other stuff, it's definitely still fuck you for that time.
Crystal.
But I recognize now we're in a different time and we're grown. So if any of y'all are willing to do the work, and it's always about the work of mending, right? It's not just I'm gonna step into some blind shit naive like I did when I was in undergrad. Bitch, we not friends. We're not even associates.
Gerald,
we feel off each other love.
You just said a mouthful.
Because people need love in this world that they don't get, which is why we try to join our organizations in the first place.
One thing's for certain and two things for sure, baby. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
I mean, absolutely.
A lot of young boys want to join for that exact reason.
Author, you guys really, you three talked about rumors, and that was one of the biggest thing with you three. Gerald, I want you to go first. Did you ever code switch or have to code switch to dispel those rumors that was done or talked about you during that time?
Not necessarily code switch, but it was in the sense of, I think Brandon was just saying, I was embracing my power. I was getting stronger and stronger every day. Because you got to remember, the era I'm coming from, it was not progressiveness. It was not that Gerald could be Gerald, but during this time, I didn't know who Gerald was. I didn't have the power that I have now. I did not have the platform that I had now. But when I look back on it, was the fact that I didn't have to code switch, but I was not living in my truth. But again, I didn't know what my truth was because I was hiding from myself. I come from a small town where being who I was being ostracized. And I didn't have time for that because, again, I didn't know where my power lied. So not code switching per se because I didn't know who I was to even code switch.
What about you, Greg?
It wasn't it wasn't extreme code switching. I think that I did a lot of what Justin described. I put up a wall. And so for me, you know, I had to do that with my family. I had to do that with some friends. Like, I didn't come out until I was 26 or 27. And a lot of my friends were pissed off about that because they're like, I wish you would have told me. But from a Greek perspective, it's very different. And so for me, if they had this rumor about me, I wasn't going to do anything to feed into that rumor while I was on the yard. But also, I wasn't going to do anything to lessen my light. And so then it went back to, I did everything else on the periphery outside of Alpha, but knowing that Alpha was central to me. And I was like, well, you know what? If I do this, then I'm going to lift high the name of Alpha and the light of Alpha. If I engage in this opportunity, not knowing that the things that I was doing in my 20s would give me the power and the voice that so many of these men have said tonight that I have in my 40s. So if you've ever met me, like Justin's met me, so I think we've met. Brandon, I feel like I feel like I've met everybody. Y'all know I'm 5'4". I'm short.
I have not.
I photograph tall, but I'm short.
You do.
But the thing about it, Shaba, yes. Shaba, yes. Shaba, yes. However, I have a very powerful and loud voice. Like, my voice carries. I don't know how to be quiet. And for me, a lot of that came from the fact that my voice was silenced so much in undergrad because of my sexual orientation, whether perceived or confirmed, and because I was short. So in the profession I'm in now, higher education, working in career centers, having to sell something to students that they don't feel like they need as soon as they get to college, but hindsight is 2020. I've used that power to say, you're not going to silence me, and I refuse to be quiet. And I utilize that when I'm talking to cis-het Black men and Black women, but I also use that power when I'm talking to white people, because you're going to hear me. And this doctorate, me being an alpha, me knowing my shit, because there ain't too many people that can out career development my motherfucking ass. All of those things have added into the person that I am today. So, not to steal from Morehouse, but you can tell me some shit, but you can't tell me much because you don't know. And so I'm glad that I did not code switch to an extreme in hindsight, because I think I would have been a lot further down the pit of darkness because I wasn't being true to my authentic self.
Oh, wow.
I got a question for Dr. Greg. Why did you use the term coming out?
So probably just because it's a knee-jerk reaction of coming out, because I mean, I really didn't have, much to your point, Jerry. There's really nothing for me to come out to. I mean, this is who I am. This is who I've been. I'm a gold star gay. I've never been with a woman.
Yeah, I never came out.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things where, you like me or you don't. I think the coming out terminology, we like to put people in a box, and we like to describe, oh, you're masculine, or you're feminine, or you're a man, or you're coming out, because it helps people be more comfortable with, oh, I can identify you and I can label you.
It helps.
I know who you are.
It helps white people.
It helps white people.
So in the Black community, everybody already know. Most of the time they be like, y'all seen that video, the mom be like, we waiting? You
With that Beyonce meme, he a little.
Yeah, what y'all in here doing? And I think, Greg, literally what you just said, especially working in higher ed, like, we talk so much about diversity and inclusion efforts. Like, we don't protect queer students who want to join organizations. Like, when we look at diversity and inclusion and expansion and equity, we really look so black and white, and we are now recognizing our trans members, right? Like, members of our trans community. But it's also like, okay, there's also been lesbians here. There's been gay people here. There's been bisexual people here. And so, yes, we want all these doors to open. And it's like, we still got to pay homage, right? Like, we don't talk about how Bayard Rustin was like literally dismissed from the entire civil rights movement. You know, like we don't have this history of knowledge of even our own Black queer history makers who have served in our organizations. Like we recognize the gays be doing the work. Like we be like, okay, the gays is doing the work. But it's also like, because we don't have that connection to the history, that's why our voice is so hurt. Like that's why our voice is so saddened and siloed, you know. And I think we go through that journey throughout life. Like I'm in that moment now where I don't even like my voice. So when Nigel hit me up, I was like, I don't like the way I sound, but other people do when I lead meditations or yoga classes. So like pulling into that strength that was once there, but like literally what people will kill, right? Like they will literally kill your shit, and you will be sitting over here like, how am I going to make it so that the next person can make it? And I really think like universities have to start thinking about that. Like organizations have to start thinking about what is going on with our queer members. Like is something happening more to them that's not happening to the rest of them? Because we
But
know.
do you think they really care about that?
I mean, it depends, right? Like it depends on where you go, because I think I've been blessed to work with people in Greek life, in institutions. You know, I can't say about Syracuse, Justin, but I know.
Well, I ain't pledged at Syracuse, so I don't know what you're talking about there.
Right, I don't know about nobody.
I ain't do Beta Delta, okay?
Like,
I ain't do that.
Hey, look, that's where we met. So
That may be where we met, but I ain't do Beta Delta. Okay?
All right, guys.
None of these people.
Before we come, we're gonna go to a quick commercial. But when we come back, we're gonna ask these awesome people some more questions about their experience. Stay tuned and keep watching Outspoken. We'll be right back.
It's time to step up, prep up.
Step up, prep up.
To help keep you free from the risk of HIV.
From the makers of Truvada, there's another PrEP option, Descovy for PrEP, a once-daily prescription medicine that helps lower the chances of getting HIV through sex. It's not for everyone. Descovy for PrEP has not been studied in people assigned female at birth. Talk to your doctor to find out if it's right for you.
Step up for health and body.
Prep up for your one and only love, or many loves.
For kings, this queen, and you royals in between.
For my now.
Our now.
And my future.
Our future.
Step up, prep up.
Descovy is another way to prep. Descovy does not prevent other sexually transmitted infections, so it's important to use safer sex practices and get tested regularly. You must be HIV negative to take Descovy for PrEP, so you need to get tested for HIV immediately before and at least every 3 months while taking it. If you think you were exposed to HIV or have flu-like symptoms, tell your doctor right away. They may check to confirm you are still HIV negative. Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. The most common side effect was diarrhea. Tell your doctor about all the medicines and supplements you take, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Descovy without talking to your doctor. Ask your doctor about your risk of HIV, and if Descovy for PrEP is right for you.
Words are loud, but actions are louder.
Step up,
prep up.
With Descovy for PrEP.
Get help paying for Descovy for PrEP. Learn more at stepupprepup.com.
Style disaster coming at you.
Y'all, welcome back to Outspoken. Here we have Greg, Brandon, Sir Author Justin, and Gerald. We're talking about our life experiences in joining, as an LGBTQ, joining the Divine Nine. This is part 1 with the fraternities. I want to really jump in and ask you guys this question. I'm going to go with Brandon first, because you said something about you being skinny and going through your intake process. And I want to ask all you guys the same thing. Were you guys more afraid of them finding out that you were gay or LGBTQ and not getting in? Or were you more afraid of what could possibly happen to you while going through that intake process?
For me, I think I was worried, right? Because I remember somebody running up on me like after a show one time. And so I think ever since then, like I'm real hood. So I walk the dog and I got a police baton. I keep mace on me, keep a blade. Like, you know, it's just certain things that I think you get accustomed to when you're a certain style body. And of having to protect yourself, you know, and I think that's real. I think that's just me in daily life. And so when you have this angst, well, the world has the angst against you of like not liking you and distrusting you and your movements, you just kind of learn to move a little bit differently. So I think my first thing was getting in, right? Because everybody has that anxiety, like I done did the work, I done did the application, I had the references, you had everything that you really need to make the move. And so once I was in and I saw that people didn't like me, and I was also receiving text messages from a high school teacher whose brother was in Omega, you know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to my high school teachers who was at a party while I was like doing membership intake. And like, I'm thankful for her text message, and I'm thankful for Black women, even though in that same stance, Black women were a part of that whole situation of people finding out. You know, I think it's two-part fold that especially Black queer men go through in those relationships with women. And so I'm thankful for her because she saved my life from going somewhere one night where potential harm was going to come to me. And so knowing that, and knowing that as I've gotten older, some people have had positive interactions. The grad chapter here in Rochester, New York has definitely loved on the kid during those times where I was just like, I don't have any, you know what I'm saying? I don't have any regrets right now. Like I remember my frat brother, Damon Meeks, walked up to me at the farmer's market and was like, what you know about this hat? You know, and I went home and texted him and I was like, dang, nobody's ever approached me like that. And that was a very beautiful moment. I'm just trying to buy my fruits and vegetables. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm thankful for him pulling me back in the work that we've been able to do in our community here in Rochester to save our children. So, you know.
Sir Author.
The children are our future.
Sir Author, earlier you said that a lot of them were getting on you because you were pretty. And even though you were you married or engaged? Which one was it?
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't hear you clearly. Can you repeat it for me again?
Okay, yeah. I said, so earlier you were just talking about they were picking on you a little bit because you were pretty. And you were like, you were married at the time, correct? Or married or engaged?
Engaged.
Engaged. So did you feel like you were a target during your intake process of, even though I was engaged to this woman, I didn't fit your hyper masculine role or that totem that you wanted me to go by? Were you picked on more or messed with more during your intake process?
Absolutely. Because that was something I made very clear from the beginning of the process. It was like, oh, you think he's better than us again? Because mind you, I'm pledging at Alabama State. I'm a student attending Jacksonville State University, so they didn't know who I was on campus at each. All they know is that this guy wants to be on IOTA. He's going to represent us on this new campus. He said he's engaged, but he's too cute. I didn't like to be dirty. Who can get dirty was not me. Who couldn't get a haircut? Are you crazy? I have to go to a meeting every day. I'm going to be on top of it. So it was a lot of things I came with that made them 10 times harder on me because things they wanted to per se do. It was just not like me not getting a haircut was not an option because I had too much going on a PWI, and I'm this Black guy that's running everything. I'm having meetings with the president. I'm a head ambassador. I just had too much on my plate to not, come with some type of demands I had to quite try to keep because of who I was on yard. So that made them 10 times harder. Pledging was definitely a lot harder on my line brothers, to say the least, because of some of the things that I just refused to or not to do. But at the end of the day, I did take care of them as well. I think more so because my dean, he kept saying he saw something in me beyond what I saw at that time. He did help cover and hide a lot. Because initially, I think I probably am almost positive with all the accolades I had, I may have not still been chosen. And like I think Brandon was saying earlier, that waiting process, okay, I got everything done. I got all the accolades. I got the grades. I got the money, how could they deny me? But at the end of the day, they can still deny you, if you don't meet a certain image or criteria that they have set for you. Thank God my dean did vouch for me to get in, but it did make pledging a lot hard. I think the Part was as time in life progressed, and I realized I was, into same gender living. When I fell into that caliber, it was a big issue in my life. Justin said, I never had a coming out. I just kind of just went with life. It happened. I may have posted a picture of me dating somebody. It's not your business. You saw it. Okay, what's next? Not a big deal. I didn't have a need to have a coming out or have a whole conversation with me. Both of my parents already passed away. So if it was anyone I feel like I may have owed an explanation to, would have been them. And so, but already having passed that part of life, it was just my aunt. I had a conversation with her maybe about 2 years ago. And the way that kind of happened was she was at my house for Christmas, and she just kind of met who I was dating at that time because of time and place. And that was that. But in essence, it did make pledging harder. But I would do it again. If I do it again, I would do it again because I do know I paved the way for many people to come behind me because of what I was able to come by pledging.
Awesome. Now, Justin and Greg, I don't know if this was at your schools, but at my school, everyone always talked about all the Kappas and the Alphas are the gay fraternity. And they would say it as a stigma almost, even though those were the two main ones with the highest GPAs. Those were the two organizations on our campus, again, on our campus now, Gerald, most involved doing something. It was those two were the ones that were leading the athlete. They were the major athletes. They
are still SGA, to this day.
They were the
SGA, academicians, NAACP, the vice president and president know us by first name and not for bad things.
Because the gays be running stuff. That's why y'all two was everywhere.
But they also keep bringing that stigma around. Oh, that's the gay organizations. How did it make you feel that your sexual orientation was looked like as a blotch on your fraternity? Justin, I'm going to let you go first.
See, I guess at the time and when I was pledging, and my experience at Kappa has always been in those situations, Kappa, and I'll just say it, Kappa works very hard to fight that stigma. And part of that happens with just you sharing interest as an aspirant, alphas. Y'all like to call people aspirants. I don't know what the fuck that is. But I think it starts there, at least in certain chapters that really care about it. I pledged in the South. So at least I can only tell you about my experience of Kappa in the South. I can tell you about my experience Kappa other places, but it was definitely very different than being a Kappa in the South. In the South, they cared a lot about breaking that pretty boy stigma. You could be a pretty boy, but you also could still be a man, or their version of a man. Yeah, you could be a hood nigga, and then you could go to Express, and you could put on your little button down and your pants for the party, and that was the delineation. So you could be a hood nigga 6 days a week, and then that one day, or for nighttime, when it's time to go out and be grown and sexy, you can be pretty then. And that was the place to be pretty in formal settings and nowhere else. So for me, that was kind of the thing. They worked harder. I think pledging was more difficult in the South as a Kappa. Well, I know for a fact, at least where I was in the other places that I traveled, and I've traveled extensively prior to, I don't know, almost every state and seen every chapter. So at least in I've seen a chapter in every state. And I will say, when I went to the East Coast, to Syracuse, and when I went to Michigan and all these other places, it was just different. The energy was different. It was more so just you are who you are, and they didn't care so much about the pretty boy thing. But also, to that point, rumors create change within people, good and bad. And I think that was the change that they created within the organization, and the importance to want to delineate that, and the importance to want to prioritize, the kind of man we want to be seen versus the kind of man we want to make you to be. That was a big piece of it. Once you were pledging the kind of man we were trying to create, and you were changing to be, for better or for worse, because there were some positive and negative things that came from that.
What about you, Greg?
For my chapter specifically, it was already a very hyper masculine chapter. And so it's much like you said, Nigel, we had football players and we had basketball players in my chapter. I was one of the few that was not any of that. I think I was perhaps the second or third when I became SGA president, second or third alpha that was SGA president. However, for me, that stigma definitely existed at other chapters. And much to Justin's point, not to pick on Kappa Alpha Psi, but there is an alumni chapter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that if they even suspect you're gay, they're going to cut you off, like, period. Because I had an associate that was like, I really want to be a Kappa, and I hit up my homeboy that's a Kappa who's heterosexual, and the first question he asked me was, is he gay? Because if he's gay, they're not going to let him in.
And they're going to ask everybody. And they're going to ask everybody. They're going to ask everybody connected to you. Yeah, it's going to be an investigation if you got a question mark on
an ongoing investigation.
I had a friend that really wanted to be a Kappa. He ended up, going to an interest meeting. He was engaged to a guy at the time. The guy made a YouTube video of their engagement, and the chapter found it. Like, the alumni chapter found it. And they were like, he not gonna make it. And it was one of the guys in the alumni chapter that called my brother, and I was like, hey, you might want to tell your homeboy he needs to watch what's on the internet, because he not about to be coming through our chapter. And it was just a very saddening thing to hear. Because
I've also seen them take you in to break you.
Yep.
That's a very common thing. They will take you in to intentionally break you during the process. Yep. So they already have intentions of you never making it, or they have decided that you are not strong enough to make it. So a lot of times that was what I would see happen.
Which is
because that's money you're gonna get back. You're not gonna get all that back.
That's just money,
if any.
That's money.
Yep. Because taking dick up the ass, that takes a lot. And so the thing about it is, it's very sad.
Hell yeah, graduate chapter. Sorry, I'm reading it. No, I'm sorry.
Because they do have that conversation, because niggas ain't got shit else better to talk about, which is sad. But the thing about it is,
them old men,
they are worse. They are worse. And I want to say this, and then I'll be done. But it's like, you have all of these niggas in our chapters who got more than one baby mama, beating on their girlfriends, beating on their wives, deadbeat dads. But yeah,
might not even have a job, but showing up.
Yes. Or being an alumni chapter and still coming to freshman welcome week. You little nasty.
No. Coming to all the parties, first of all, with a whole wife. And you talking about you working the door, but you working the bitches.
Yes, and they 17, 18 years old. You little nasty.
I be
just nasty.
You going to jail. I got a duty. You going to jail.
Yes. Hello, 911. My frat brothers in here being nasty with some
mandated reporter. I'm calling the people on y'all asses from now on.
Baby girl ain't even eligible to vote yet. She's 17 and a freshman, but you all up on her.
So during your intake, were you ever called derogatory terms?
My line name is Derogatory. My line name is Derogatory. The line name that I had is Derogatory.
They'll shade you in your name. My name is Shady too.
They were definitely. I mean, things are. My number 3 went through some stuff that I to this day was ready to fight. I think it was like 26 brothers out there. And they said something to him that pissed me off to my core. I was ready to. I literally jumped out of line. Was ready to just whoop ass. I didn't care, guys. I just already had a certain standard for myself when you went to saying those derogatory slurs and went as far as to bringing certain things to set that kind of were just specifically to offend him or to let us further know what he did in his privacy. I was beyond offended about that. So I mean, it got real nasty at times.
So
I had a brother after a step show call me a bitch, and I ran a crawl after I just won you a step show. After I just got you a hospitality suite.
And a little change.
I said, I've got your bitch in your pink shirt, in your pink linen shirt. I'll never forget that nigga in his pink linen shirt. And I ran across their room and beat him till he was pink.
In full disclosure, I know Justin like for years. Justin's always been ready to fight. Justin's always been a good time ready to fight.
and you're not gonna see no sweat. You're not gonna see no scratch, face crack.
I enjoy that. I'm gonna keep on struggling when I get to be in that ass. I mean, just exactly. That one time you have to make that
I like
one
to fight
time to let me know I'm not for play. I try not to like to fight. I try, stay in this new person I become, but don't push me.
Clarksdale, Mississippi. I like to fight. Okay, I'm from Clarksdale, Mississippi. I will wear your ass out.
Wear low.
If I fight the hoes in the street over crack, I will fight you.
So doing you guys did you ever experience where there were members who were LGBTQ or closeted, and they either gave you solace or they made your intake harder.
Every faggot, I'm gonna say faggot because that's what they were. Every faggot in every other organization, I felt like tried to make it harder because they were trying to hide what they had going on. So like my freshman year, my biggest difficulties actually came from alphas, either because you had seen me on the pages or you knew about me personally, and once like I wasn't fucking with y'all, then it was like, oh, okay, we're gonna gossip about you.
It ain't no worse than a queen or a fag that can't get you. They be the main ones to be mad.
They're out
Be
to
mad.
They try to destroy you, and if anything, they'll try to destroy you to try to protect themselves. I had sigmas try it. I had alphas try it, and it was always in this whole scenario where their sexuality had come up or in some type of drama about like you and what you had going on. Now you need to like bring me into like, yo, wait a second now. I
just came to dance for y'all. That's it.
I didn't go dance. I just can't take the money, honestly. I just want to get the money and go.
I got the cash 10. That's all I got. That's all I came to do. I came to do the cash 10. I did about 2 hours at the door, so I go in and stroll.
Right. I did my 2. I want to do mine at 9 to 11 so I can act up the rest of the night and we can be done.
We be done.
God, Lord, we are here with Greg, Brandon, Justin, Sir Arthur, and Gerald. We are having an amazing conversation about joining the Divine Nine as LGBTQ individuals. We'll have more questions for them when we come back right after this commercial. Stay tuned.
For people living with HIV, keep being you and ask your doctor about Biktarvy. Biktarvy is a complete one-pill, once-a-day treatment used for HIV in certain adults. It's not a cure, but with one small pill, Biktarvy fights HIV to help you get to and stay undetectable. That's when the amount of virus is so low, it cannot be measured by a lab test. Research shows people who take HIV treatment every day and get to and stay undetectable can no longer transmit HIV through sex.
Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare, life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. Do not take Biktarvy if you take dofetilide or rifampin. Tell your doctor about all the medicines and supplements you take if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Biktarvy without talking to your doctor. Common side effects were diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
If you're living with HIV, keep loving who you are and ask your doctor if Biktarvy is right for you.
Rhyme style disaster coming at ya.
All right, guys, welcome back to Outspoken. I am here with these amazing gentlemen, and we're going to just jump right in. Gerald, we're going to start with you with this question, especially after all you went through with your intake process. So, and now that you're in the organization, the young men that came after you, did they go through the same scrutiny that you did? Those who were feminine, those who were metrosexual, those who were LGBTQ, and what did you do to step in to make sure they didn't go through the same scrutiny that you went through?
Oh, well, I think to a certain extent they did, but it was things that were done without my knowledge. But anything that I was privy to, I made sure that I protected them. But the main thing was, the first thing was getting them in, because again, a lot of them may have been effeminate, not as masculine as, so that may be like in a sense where they could possibly assume that they were. So the main thing was to get them in, because it's like we were saying, they had the GPA, they had all the other credentials, they had the community service, they had everything else they needed. So the main thing, I was like, we can't deny them. What are we denying them for? So once I started getting more people to come around to my thinking, especially my line brothers. They was like, you're right. We cannot treat people like this just because we're assuming. But it was not in a sense where they could be their authentic self by no means. They still had to code switch the best that they could. I'm sure some things happened that I was not privy to, but everything I was privy to, I made sure that I stood up and put a stop to it.
Awesome. So anybody who wants to answer this, what was it like after you officially became a member of your organization? finding out there was a whole nother.
Oh my God!
Listen,
An entire
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
That there are.
I mean, you all have come to.
There
I mean, a
are
lot of them have
trips.
come to my parties.
That there are parties. That there are events. Like what was it? What was
It
it
is
like?
overwhelming. I mean, I remember my first AGP when I knew who I was out there, and you come into this party, it was almost like wish from like, well, it's like a secret society or something. Like that's a cute asking me to come to these events. I'm like, that's not my frat brother. And he was like, well, yeah, you come with us. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I'm gonna leave all my frat brothers to come go out with y'all. And then I was like, wait a minute. And then you like
them become your best friends though. Them become your best friends in the organization.
Oh my God, I have bonds that are lifelong. And I mean, I love my brothers to death, don't get me wrong, but I have some bonds I've forged with people in other organizations. I cannot. I mean, I would lay my life on the I know they would lay their life on the line for me. So it is overwhelming. I think with me, I try to always, when I know the gays are coming in, try to give them a prelim because it can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. Also, if you're still trying to find yourself, you just cross over that magnitude of fame can hit you hard. And then, we have older brothers and organizations who feed on that. They're new. Let me kind of eat up them. So I'm always trying to protect them. Like, hey, they're cool people, but let's just kind of stay over here with me for a while. Give you some time in the organization before you get a little too free because you're going to lose yourself. I don't lose myself, but I've seen so many. Oh, my God. And y'all know the vultures are out there. The vultures are out there.
I got a Gaby now. He's 20. He's 24, and he's an Omega. And we used to date. Because I like to date younger, but he came of age like 20, 21, 20, and I'm glad that I was in his life because for his birthday I took him to Atlanta to be gay for the first time like last month, and it blew his mind. It blew his mind, but it's like he's so hesitant because, and Brandon, you may be able to resonate with this. He still got a lot of straight line brothers and frat brothers. He's like, I don't want to lose those relationships as an Omega. And I said, baby girl, baby love, eventually you're going to get to a crossroads where it's going to be about satisfying them niggas or making yourself happy.
Yeah.
And for me, I can remember, and some of y'all may be too young to remember this, but Zach, my twin brother Zach and I, the twins from Duncanville, I have had people who, for like the past 10, 15, 20 years was like, oh, you one of the twins from Duncanville. Oh, you are Alpha and your twin brother's a Sigma. So imagine being gay, Black twins with doctorate degrees in 2 different organizations. It's motherfuckers that know me and I have no idea who they are. And so
everybody know who you are and know your team.
You know what? Everybody may know who I am, but they don't know my team. They don't know my team. They don't know my team.
Chipmunk.
They don't know my team. Look, you know it. You know it. You know it. But you're not everybody. You're not. But are you liking, clicking, and subscribing? That's the question.
Let me tell you what I'm not doing. That. Not doing that.
But it's one of those things. It's but it's one of those things where it can be really overwhelming. But I love what Sir Arthur you said. Like some of my best friends in Greekdom are not alphas, and I've said it many, many a times. I would rather hang out with like people who are not alphas and people who are like not cisgender and heterosexual because I feel more comfortable being with people who can show me something different than what I'm used to. Imagine if all 6 of us were in the same organization, we would have nothing diverse to talk about. We've got 6 different experiences from 6 different men. And for me, I'm learning so much from the other 5 individuals, even though I've known some of you for like years. But we've never had this conversation in this space. So I appreciate having that and knowing that there are men, we share a commonality, but just because we like dick in the booty activities, that doesn't mean that that's the totality of who we are.
Exactly.
I was about to say that got nothing to do with that.
We do it better. Like we do it better. We do it better.
Plenty of homeboys like a finger in the butt, if not a whole thing in the butt.
But you know what? We know how to take it, and we know how to give some head and eat some booty.
You know what? I'm
all
this is
day
going
while
so
all
far.
day while we play Mortal
All day.
Kombat.
All day. Ugh.
Just-
Ah.
oh, you know,
Ah.
be on my
Baby,
young
this tickler? This
be on my
tickler?
young
Baby, this sells ships like Helen of Troy, baby. This tickler.
So similar to the church, there are a lot of LGBTQ individuals in these organizations who are at the top tier of those positions. I think
Donnie McFerkin.
Speaking of it earlier, but who are at the top tier and positions of these organizations, and also is doing the background of a lot of the work. But LGBTQ still are being discriminated upon, even though we're giving our money, we're giving our funds, and we're putting in more work than those of our heterosexual counterparts. How do we stop that discrimination and show that equality and that love, and just judge people not based on what they're doing at home, but what work they're putting forward?
I have a brother who I think is a great example. You all may know him. His name is Dr. Marvin Carr. I think Marvin and me during that time, during like I said, the 2010s when we were crossing, and there was kind of like a shift happening in Greek life. I will say, and I would tell any young man, any LGBTQ men I met, queer guys that are in Greek letter organizations, don't let your experience with your chapter deter you from getting to another organization in other areas. My experience in Syracuse actually turned around my entire relationship with Kappa post-grad. Because like I said, I had this other experience with this guy calling me a bitch. I'm beating him up and I'm fighting him, and everybody else just sitting around watching like it's all okay. So for me, I was done with my chapter after that day. But then I went to Syracuse. I actually made my first set of friends that were in my organization that were queer, and met other people through the Facebook groups and all of that. And that actually turned my relationship back around with my own organization and with Greek letter organization. So that's just what I would tell the younger guys, you know. And I would just say, lead by example. Join on like the national level. That's what Marvin does, and that's what Marvin did. And we decided to get involved like that. We decided to go and get involved like on a national level. We decided to run for these positions that other people didn't. We would go and find positions where it's like, okay, nobody's running for that, and then you work your way up. You work your way up. Then all of a sudden, or run for this position that's going to be national in your region, and then there you go. They don't have no choice, but you're sitting in the rooms now.
Oh wow! So with the topic of transgender equality being a huge thing right now, a lot of things are going on, and them being also the highest rate, especially transgender women of color being the highest rate of being killed in our LGBT community right now, and people are showing face and people are acknowledging them. And I want to say this to Gerald, I saw in 2016 that the Sigmas, they brought in their first trans male individual, and it was at Boston Emerson College. And then there was some kickback from just a couple of members. They tried to start a campaign against it, some of the Sigma members, but they let the 20-year-old in. Do you think fraternities are now coming around and allowing transgendered males into their fraternities? Because now, even if they don't undergo those surgeries, but still go through the transitioning process and identify as a male, is your organization becoming more open-minded in letting transgender males in?
No.
Hello. And then I'm laughing at Brandon's whole.
I mean, we're all like, now you going real far. That's a big push.
Well, I would say I don't even think the process is conducive. Like my process, we've said a bitch many a times throughout my process. If you know what setting a bitch means, we ran a train on a girl throughout a few times on women throughout a few times. So I don't even know if I will say the process, like in every chapter is different. I will say, like, I guess that has always been my thought. Okay, well, will you use the process? If you use the process to attack me, you know, as a queer person, how would you attack a trans person through this process? A trans man who may be pre-op. Oh my gosh, the entire time we do our process, your shirt is off for the most part, or to some degree, your shirt. You know, like the physicality, the body dysphoria that could come about by that. It's just a lot of levels. But I personally believe you identify as a man, you have every right to join. And I would definitely push and work my hardest to get you in.
Yep.
Now, would I be hyperactive and hyper involved in whatever your process was out of fear of what could happen to you? Yes. And I would be just out of just fear. But I would have to be. And I
would, for that matter,
I would not sleep. I would not sleep at night. Just because I would not want to be. I would not want. I would have to be present. And that is why I say I feel like we're not there. But as far as like identification and it being a qualifier, I think more trans people should definitely apply. They should join. They should get in because you can't create that change. But I say to that point, you have to protect yourself. And I think it's our job as queer people to try to like connect with those people and help them understand what they're about to sign up for or be prepared for, and try to prepare them for it.
See, I have a question that kind of hyper X from that, because in experience, I'll speak of my own experience, someone that got over. Per se, you rent somebody in that's trans, or just, they don't give you all their gaieties until they're in. Then they get in the organization. Ta-da, they got the letters and sequins. They're coming in with gowns on, and hey, they're a member. How do we? I think that's a bigger fear factor for some of their older members in our organizations. I know with IOTA, it was like a Blair Witch Project, and sometimes it still is now. I'll be honest about that. I mean, you just have members who are not for gay, anything that's in that spectrum, a part of the organization. I mean, because I've seen where people, they fake it till they make it, they get in the organization, and the very next day, they have turned to Starless Star Bright, and we're trying to embrace them and say, hey, welcome in, we love you. Let's tone it down a little bit and just kind of gradually get you on those pedestals first, but it all backfires. I see that can be an issue in the future where our members just like going to be very iffy about that, as the conversation. It is becoming more current conversation across the board, but I'm not sure how well. And if it did happen, I'd still be very involved with the intake process, because I want to know they're not going to kill somebody. Not while I'm a member, not while I'm active and around, though. But I'm just not sure if that, when we get to that place, will our organization lose what it stands for historically? Will the branding drastically change?
I feel like, as someone, and Brandon, you could probably echo this, because it's people who are working on college campuses and seeing the NPHC numbers are the lowest. MGC numbers for our Latinx and our Asian Pacific Islander skyrocketing. We've got Black people who are not accepted in NPHC going to white sororities and white fraternities.
I don't think Black people care anymore.
They don't. And
there's not an interest because of the negativity and all the different stuff surrounding our organizations. I think that's why they're not really vibing. The whole, honestly, you can be qualified and not get in. I know a lot of girls, girls I know now that are young, my little nieces, my little cousins, they're like, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
And you don't get a good return on investment.
Right.
Hello, somebody.
Most of the time.
What is the return on it? Oh, so you can wear these, bitch, that's it? That's it? I'm looking at fucking Pi Kappa Alpha and Kappa Delta. They got leadership conferences for their freshmen and sophomores. What the fuck is NPHC doing? And so
the prioritization of our structures are not the same either. Our priorities are not the same.
NPHC has a
organization level.
Yeah, we've got a reckoning that we have to deal with. So I can remember I got into it with this Delta in undergrad, and she thought she was gonna have it with me, but baby, in your country you a princess, but in mine I'm a queen, so I'll rank you trail bitch. So anyway, she was like, well, we don't need to recruit. They just gonna come to us. Look, girl, you got 4 motherfuckers in your chapter, and 3 of y'all about to graduate, and y'all ain't had a line in 2 years.
Baby.
Who the fuck needs to come to you and pay $1,300 to maybe get their ass beat? That's why your ass is expelled out Delta now.
But
I ain't gonna say her name. But the thing about it is,
say her name. No, say her name.
We don't have, we as NPHC, we don't have the luxury to be selective anymore. We don't. And if you've got LGBTQ individuals that, as we've all said tonight, will shit on your straight cisgender motherfuckers. Because I have a homeboy now in Atlanta. He's trans. He's female to male. He's had the top surgery done. He has not had the bottom surgery. He is petrified. Because he wants to be an alpha so bad. And when he was in New York, there's an alumni chapter that fucked with him heavy. They were going to let him come in.
Wall Street Alphas wore that boy out. I already know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I date a man online. Gotcha, girls.
And so now he's in Atlanta and he's like, what do I do? How do I'm like, you gotta calm down. You're not even there yet. You gotta take it step by step. And it's sad that we have to do that. It's sad that some of our D9 organizations are now requiring birth certificates in order. Yes, Justin. Yes.
That's exactly where we
some
are
of them
now.
are requiring birth certificates as a part of your application. So when you got your voter registration card,
I can fake my GPA and my transcript. I can falsify. I'm gonna falsify my birth certificate.
Baby, it's somebody in the hood that can falsify a birth certificate.
I was born Diamond Princess. Know that, T. What's up?
So what about the non-binary now? Are your organizations at least accepting people who are saying, you know, I'm a male, but I don't go by he, I go by they or them? Are they?
These motherfucking bumpkins don't know what that means.
Yeah, and I think non-binary to them equals like bisexual. I think it's gonna have. I think non-binary kind of like correlates the same way.
Right?
Straight people judge like bisexual. Oh, you bisexual? Okay, that means like you kind of like in the middle. Like as far as like how much hate you get. Non-binary, I feel like you kind of like you are in the center. So like because there to me non-binary truly isn't a label because you don't want a label. You feel like a little bit of everything. So I think that honestly just allows them to be more confused. I think declaring something as far as like lesbian, gay, trans, that they know exactly what this means and have a clear distinction from the media or definition for the media, it allows people to attack you a lot more directly than I believe non-binary. I just don't think there's enough education out there to that point about truly understanding on a base level in comparison to like lesbian and gay. People understand. You can say I'm lesbian, you know, oh, I'm bumping pussies. You can say I'm gay, oh, it's a hole, something happening. Trans, okay, something changed. There was a transformation. Non-binary, so you just decided you weren't gonna choose. you said I plead the fifth. I opt out.
You just greedy.
Right?
Not greedy.
I think being gender non-conforming, like you see a lot of different things. Because like I'm tall, I'm 6'3", so a lot of regular clothes for men don't fit me, right? And so I'll go to the women's section and find some high-waisted pants because they're long enough for my legs, you know. So I'm floating through, and so I think it's a lot of things that we're gonna have to start talking about. Is like doing those trainings, right? Like we do trainings to accept other non-Black people in our fraternities and sororities, so we need to do the trainings because it's just like, I mean, no shade, no tea, like Sam White out gets all of this glory that I've seen around his highlight in Kappa, right? Just naming somebody, but it's like I know that there are Black queer people out here who have done that work for way longer than him, you know, for way longer, you know, and we'll celebrate the white people. We'll celebrate everybody else before we celebrate our own people just because of who they decide to, you know, engage in their intimate relationships with. And I think we need to start that training like at the national level. Like y'all have all this hazing training and it's like nobody cares anymore because people are still dying. Like we ain't gonna have nothing soon because of these lawsuits. Like insurance companies about to drop us. And that's throughout the whole Divine Nine, right? Like check the facts. Like most of our orgs aren't doing well because they're like, nobody has time for that. Like we aren't even in the high schools like we used to. Like we used to run the step teams. We used to be out in the community and
liability.
It's a liability. Like that's
Kappa League was such a thing growing up.
Yeah, it was.
All right, guys. For my final question, what activities, if any, would you bring to your chapter or national organization to further the inclusion of LGBTQ issues in programming, especially where youth are concerned?
I think you got to redefine what the requirements are and what the expectations are to join the organization. And I think that has to start on a national level. What my chapter did, and I think whether it was good or bad or whatever, they kind of shifted in what I push for and what I try to encourage like other people when I share about kind of like organizational structure. Think about utility. When you're putting together a line, I push my chapter to think about, okay, each individual person, what are they adding? Think about what they add instead of who they are or all this other stuff about the rumors. Just think about what are they going to bring to the organization. If you can find an answer to that and all these other things check off as far as like base level requirements, then you get in. And I think that's how we need to try to start doing it. This whole like maybe we need to do blind, I don't know, type of blind interviews, blind applications, or something like that. But yeah, I think on a national level, we have to really change like what our priorities are, what our requirements are, and how we're approaching even like accepting people or like pulling people in.
I think I'm gonna bring it from a career development lens because I've worked in a career center for 13 years. Much to Justin's point, you need to diversify your portfolio. If you have a homogenous group of men or a homogenous group of women or a homogenous group of members, there's going to be that group think and your chapter is not going to grow. Your chapter is going to die out. You need to be able to diversify that, because if we are touting and proclaiming that we are businesses as we do, and we try to follow a business model, corporate America is seeing the positives of diversification. And there's a statement that I read in a book called Social Gravity. There's a difference in difference. And so if you're able to have those different perspectives and those different thought processes, not only will that make your chapter and your organization richer in and of itself, but it will also motivate individuals who don't have that same groupthink that's going to challenge you to think outside the box, to want to be a part of that because they see themselves in it. We've said this for probably the last 20 years. NPHC is one lawsuit away from being gone. And so what are the things that we can control in terms of membership intake and membership selection to where that's not a choice, so that when we are faced with hazing incidents, there's somebody who has a different mindset that can come into the conversation and say, hey, bruh, or hey, sis, this is probably not what we need to be doing, because I'm too pretty to go to jail. Baby, sugar melts and pretty hurts, and I do not look good in Orange Is the New Black. So let these little kids call me now. Hey, greetings, big bro. Click. Bitch, don't call my phone.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I was too long. Don't call my phone. Don't be like big bro. Nope. How you get my number? It's unlisted. Who gave you my number? Start there.
You know they had to earn your number.
Baby, look. You gotta earn the Shirley Twins number, baby. Everybody can't get the Shirley Twins number. If you get a number, then make sure it's not Google Voice.
Oh, Brandon, what about you, sir? I think we're talking about mindfulness, and I think that that's just a new wave in academia in general. Like, where is your mind at in general? And I think a lot of people try to come off of the spirituality tip when most of them folk ain't been to church since whenever and didn't really want to go to church when we was growing up, for real. I think we really have to talk about where people's minds are at. Like, we've talked about how like old heads are coming in. We're talking about people who don't know themselves coming into these spaces. Like, there has to be something of like, where is your psychological well-being? Because we already said like some people will come in to break you, and that's the whole part of the process, right? Like, to break you down, to build you back up. But we know even with a lot of
people show up to take off their bad day.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like, we know that a lot of our heterosexual brothers and sisters, like, their minds aren't even there now, right? Like, most of us have crossed years ago, and like we can still see people like, baby, where your head at? Where your mind at? And so I think we really have to do like psychological evaluations of not only the people who are going to be coming on these lines, so that we can know that they not on no crazy shit. Like, once they actually get in and be like, well, I'm gonna do what's done to me, or two times worse. Like, we need to be like, who is leading this line? Who is the dean? Who is the assistant dean? You know what I'm saying? Who is the grad chapter individual assisting this line? Because we already know the grad chapter advisors be on some bullshit as well. So we really need to do psychological evaluations of these people to be like, yo, if you can't pass this test of well-being, like, we don't think that you're the one to lead this line. Because we really need strong candidates. We really need people who are about community healing inside of the Black community, which is why our organizations were founded in the first place. And if you're not there, if you're not about the educational standards, if you're not, because that's all of our organizations. We're here for community service. We're here for bettering ourselves. We're here for education. And we're here to continue that legacy. And if you're not here for that, then like there's no need for you to be in the space.
Mm-hmm. Sir Arthur, what about you, sir?
Brandon just said, "Oh, I've always felt it's a mental thing. And because I work with the organization older members a lot, it's a mind change, it's a mindset. It's living in that decade, that era, not embracing that we're in a whole new millennium now. And I know I can only speak for us. I know quite a few of my brothers that are LGBT or SGL, however you want to claim. We try to always stay in leadership positions so that when the time comes up for new member intake, we're always the ones trying to push and say, hey, I'm gonna take over that line. I'm gonna take over this line. And then that puts me in the gap to where as the brothers say, why did y'all bring him in? Well, he's gay, yada yada. I can speak to that person's character before they just go over to come to shop to make or break them, or to pretty much get them to drop blind. It's going to take some of us that are already in the organization itself right now to step up to the leadership role. I think that's like a hard pill to swallow, because some of us are comfortable being in the organization, financial or not, active or not. I got mine, so whatever, it's to the next person. Versus those that are in the organization that are actively involved, doing things. It is a hard pill to swallow. That's a lot of liabilities to take when it comes to intake or bringing someone in. But at the end of the day, my thing was, if I survive my process and I know who I am, I'm comfortable. I'm almost 40 years old, so nobody's gonna check me about who I am, what I'm gonna do. I don't give a fuck about that at this point. But my thing is, if I can be I can be a helping hand. I mean, and I'll be honest, I'm not going to sugarcoat somebody's process, somebody's intake, because my thing is too, I still know that you're here for the right reasons. I respect my organization, my letters too much for you to just get them handed out to you. That's not going to happen on my watch. But at the same point, you're not going to go through a much more rigorous process because of who you identify as a person. So, to kind of bring it to a nutshell, it's going to take us that are in the organization that are SGL, to kind of take those leadership positions, speak up. I've had people that, want to say something in meetings or in different regional meetings where it was somebody being discussed, because that put the spotlight from them to you. You didn't say nothing. And I think I always laugh at this phrase. My brothers will always say, that's Glenda of the gays. That's Glenda of the gays. Because I'm always coming to fix somebody's situation. I don't mind doing it. My thing is, I come to a meeting with the brotherhood and the new person is coming through. But at the end of the day, you're going to respect the organization. You're going to do the work. But you're not going to sit over here and chastise them, belittle them, or do something to cause them harm because of you feel as though they can't uphold the organization's things. But at the end of the day, it's going to be us that keep the organization afloat for years to come.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you. I just want to first say I had a really good time. You guys kept me.
It's Greg's fault. This whole thing.
This is good chemistry.
First of all, you know what? See how they do me? See how they do me?
Greg,
I
really Greg, you love
Greg all night.
Whole tone.
First of all, Greg the whole night.
You can't.
Fly girl, go home, Roger.
You know what? You know what? I'm in the streets and I'm for the streets, and I hear the pulse of the streets.
We know you are the woman on the mission. You're on the streets.
Right. Yes, I'm doing missionary work.
Recording live from another bitch's business.
Recording live from the gas station where a bitch's gas car got declined. You heard it here first. How do you feel?
Oh Lord,
Becky.
Baby, I'd be mad. I mean, that would happen to me because the coins are long.
Thank you, Brandon.
I got you, Greg.
Also,
I got my knee long going. I ain't like you, Brandon. I got my knee long going.
Oh Lord,
you got your man.
Not knee long.
Baby, that blonde and that green, that's working, baby. I love that blonde and green combination, baby. I've been trying to say that all day.
I've been talking about the ring light. I was gonna say the message about the ring light. It's the light for me.
Exactly. It's the lighting. It's the lighting. It's the lighting.
It's the lighting. It's the little touches of gold.
Yeah. Justin, let's not act like Justin. We got your. I see your TLC left eye T-bars and chili pictures in the background, baby, from the Wham magazine, baby.
We're in the studio. We're in the studio, people. We're in the studio. How you doing? Hello. We're in the studio.
Okay, Jocelyn.
Wendy,
Lady Jocelyn, you in the studio.
Wendy when she does her little videos after the show, we're at the after show special. Right now, we're in my office. I'm Wendy. Hey.
Yeah, I got my shoes kicked off.
I got my Crocs on. Hello.
I mean, I got on my booty shorts, so I can't stand up. But
I got on the whole job. All right, on that note, guys, thank you for joining us for this. Make sure you guys check out part 2. We're going to be bringing on the sororities, aka Delta, Zeta, and SG Rho, and they're going to be talking about their experiences LGBTQ and joining their sorority. So make sure you stay tuned for that for next Thursday. Again, we had an amazing panel, an interesting panel. And I hope you guys really not only enjoyed the laughs, but really listened to the stories that they told and really listened to their experience and hear and learn and grow from it. And I just want to say thank you to them for being vulnerable, coming onto this platform and really expressing themselves and really telling their truth, because a lot of people couldn't do it. And I heard a lot of no's before I put this show together. So for them to do that, I am truly appreciative of them all. So again, make sure you check us again next Thursday. And thank you for tuning in for this episode 10 of Outspoken. And make sure you always stay outspoken. Have a good night.